Alright, hello, I'm Silver Kyle, and I am finally back after what feels like an eternity to my movie channel. Now, it feels like it's been a year. Hasn't been quite yet, but it's up there. And it's not because I haven't been on YouTube. I'm actually still making videos on my video game channel. But for whatever reason, I was just neglecting my movie channel. And it's not because I haven't been watching movies. I've been going to the theaters a few times. I have picked up a few Blu-rays that I could have talked about for some pickups. I've been watching a lot of Blu-rays from my collection and also watching movies on Netflix. So there's quite a few things that I could have talked about. But for whatever reason, I just stayed away from it. There was the awards, everything. There were so many things that I could have just come back. I could have done a Blu-ray collection update, which I think everybody kind of wants. That's the main thing that people want on my channel. So, I mean, I guess the last time that I did one was in 2013. So that's 5 years ago. It will be 5 years ago in September. I guess I'm kind of due. So we'll see if that happens anytime soon. But I really wanted to talk about 2017 as a year for movies because, in my opinion, 2017 is one of the worst years that we've had in at least a decade. And that's really too bad because I think as well that a lot of people thought that 2017 was a really good year. Now, bear in mind, I did not see everything in 2017, but I did see a lot of things that I wanted to check out. And a lot of it was letdowns. I was really unimpressed with a lot of movies that came out in 2017. There's a few of them that did still shine through. But I'm a harsh critic still. My brother just recently today said that he saw Ready Player One. And he called me up and he's like, yeah, it's an amazing movie. You got to check it out. It's a 9 out of 10 for him. And he's like, you know, Kyle, that's like a 7 out of 10 for you. And that's probably accurate. And that is how generally everybody else rates movies higher than I do for the most part. There's a few times where I rate something that a lot higher than nobody else agrees with. For example, Game Night that came out this year. Love that movie. It's, for me, like an 8 or a 7. At least a 7, maybe an 8. And I don't know if everybody else would feel that way. And then they would be like, okay, well, you rated that movie a 7 or an 8. Okay, fine. Like, what would you rate all these other movies? And they start listing off all these other movies, and they'd be like, well, this must be like a 9, and this must be a 10. And I was like, no, those are probably like 7 or 8s as well. And then they'd be really shocked. But I really enjoyed Game Night. I did not expect to love that movie so much. Honestly, Game Night, that came out in 2018, would have been a lot better than most of the movies that came out in 2017. There is one movie, though, that stood out above all the rest in 2017 that I thought was utterly fantastic and was the only reason that 2017 wasn't a complete and utter disappointment or crap year for movies. And that would be 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri. I loved that movie. That is the kind of movie that I was looking for. When I saw the trailers for that, I was like, this is going to be good. I didn't know how good that it was going to be. Fantastic. Fantastic. What did I give that rate? What rating did I give that movie? 8 out of 10. It could arguably be a 9. And I have only seen it once. So I'm going to have to pick it on Blu-ray or on 4K. Check it out and see how I feel about it at that point. But either way, it is an amazing movie, and if you have not seen it, I strongly recommend going and checking it out. Might not be for everybody, so I suggest checking the trailer. If the trailer looks like anything that you would be interested in, check it out. I cannot recommend that movie enough. Now, in terms of other movies that came out in 2017, let's talk about some other movies that were really big, that a lot of people ended up liking, or would have been something that I've seen that could have been one of the best movies of the year. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That did not feel like a Star Wars movie. And I get that sometimes you have to go against the grain of what people want and what people expect. But this is not one of those situations. This is Star Wars. Luke Skywalker had moments where he was Luke Skywalker. And there were certain parts where I'm like, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. But there was a lot of other parts where that did not feel like Luke Skywalker because he was so beaten down. He was so broken. And we didn't really get to see... I think that if we would have seen years of this happening, instead of all just in one shot in one movie, I think that would have been a much more interesting and an understandable take on Luke Skywalker. But it's been so long that we expected Luke to come back and be like this like a Yoda character who feels that he was finally the teacher, that he could be able to, or an Obi-Wan that has hope, and he didn't. He really did not have any of this, and I really didn't enjoy that. The other thing too is that this movie really lacked was an understanding of how things work. There's one amazing scene that is so cool near the end, but when they did that, it's like, why didn't they do that in any of the other movies when there was a big, like the Death Star or the whatever the thing was in Star Wars Episode 7? They could have just done that in those movies and everything would have been fine. We wouldn't have had to go in and hit these specific places or have Han Solo wing down with the Millennium Falcon. There are certain things that I was like, oh well, that kind of just ruins all that. Another thing is the character of Finn, who I still really enjoyed in the last movie, but they kind of took away something really awesome that he could have done in the last act, and in the middle of the entire show, his character was so boring because he met this new character who was not interesting at all, and they ended up going to this other planet to get something. I don't remember what it was. And they ended up meeting Benicio del Toro, his new character. Benicio del Toro's character I did not care for until the very end when he said one line, and I really enjoyed the line, and now I want to see more of him because the line made sense and the line was good, the line was cool, but that was the only thing that he did. And I just found it's really bored when they were on that planet with Finn and the other character. I was like, oh god, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. And if it wasn't Star Wars, it's also a really boring segment. Didn't enjoy any of that. Poe, I kind of liked because I understood where he was coming from, but they didn't give us enough, and it was kind of, he was just whining and stuff, and it was just, There's just so many wrong things that went with that movie. It was still better than the prequels, I will give it that, but in all the other Star Wars movies, I would say that Star Wars Force Awakens by far surpasses that. Force Awakens is also, I'm a little bit biased towards it because I enjoy that more than The Return of the Jedi from the original trilogy. And I could maybe say that it's better than Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. It's on the same level. It's very close. And I've watched them all recently, and I'm like, the other ones have nostalgia attached to it, right? But Force Awakens was a step in the right direction for a lot of ways. It's just that it was, unfortunately, more like a remake of A New Hope. Anyway, that's enough about Star Wars. It is what it is. Another movie that a lot of people liked, and I did like it, Logan. Good movie. Awesome movie. The best X-Men movie, other than Days of Future Past. I still felt that Days of Future Past was the superior X-Men movie, and I also feel that a lot of people overrated Logan to the extent, just because there's gore and he's going crazy. I was like, yeah, that's fine, that's what it should have been from the beginning, but just because there's extra blood and a little bit more gore doesn't mean that it's the best movie of all time. Is it a hard-hitting movie? To an extent in some areas, yes. But there's still a lot of flaws with that movie, specifically more so in the last act, where it's just kind of like, okay, we're just going to accept that everybody can find them so easily. Everything just kind of mended itself together for this entire movie to happen. And I didn't enjoy that specifically. I still give it a good rating, and it's still a good movie, just not as high as everybody else did. Another movie that I think a lot of people liked that I was just okay with was the new Spider-Man movie, Homecoming. I would still say that Tobey Maguire is still the better Spider-Man, and he's still not nearly what I still want out of a Spider-Man. But yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man was a letdown for me. There was a lot of things that went wrong with that movie as well. There was some cool twists to it, I will admit that. But there was too many things where I was like, well, where did this come from? How did this happen? A lot of questions that I won't specifically spoil in case you haven't seen those movies, but yeah, Homecoming was not the greatest Spider-Man movie. Better than The Amazing Spider-Man, but that's not saying a lot, because I hated The Amazing Spider-Man. Blade Runner 2049. I don't understand why people like Blade Runner 2049. This is not a knock on those people. I just do not understand what they like about it. I was extremely bored with that movie. Do I get the themes that they're going for? Do I understand what the point of the movie is trying to push across? Yes. Is it boring? Yes. Just because it has an interesting or it's trying to deliver a message and it delivers the message does not mean it's necessarily a good movie. I also felt that the conversations that it had between humans and androids was done a lot better in now apparently the world that Blade Runner exists is also tied with the Alien movies. And I thought that in Prometheus, David's character, specifically Prometheus, not so much the Alien Covenant, but a little bit there too, the conversations that David had with some of the characters was much more impactful than anything that any of the androids in the Blade Runner movies have done. I really didn't care for any of that. I did like seeing Harrison Ford again, but still didn't really care for it. The only part that I really enjoyed about that movie was later on near the third act, where I won't spoil anything, but a character comes back to meet up with Harrison Ford, and what happens because of that, what Harrison Ford does, I was like, that's well done. That made sense for the movie, that I enjoyed that. That was probably the best part of the film. Other than that, really didn't enjoy it. I'd actually give the movie, as crazy as it sounds, a 3 or 4 out of 10. That's how much I was disappointed with that film. I know, it's scary. You're like, who is this person? He's saying Blade Runner 2049 is not good. Now, that's not to say that if you enjoyed it, you might still enjoyed it. If you did, without going crazy on me, explain to me why you enjoyed this film. There are maybe certain things that I missed that I could potentially say, yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it was, and I didn't think of that at the time. And that has happened before. I've looked at movies and then I was like, I don't understand this. I went up online and I read stuff about it, and then sometimes I've either changed my opinion and didn't like it as much, or I liked it more. So that can happen as well. I'm trying to think of what else came out in 2017 that's worth talking about. John Wick 2, that was good. I really enjoyed that movie. Not as much as the first, but I still thought that it was one of the better movies of last year. That one and Three Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri, those are the only ones that really stood out to me. There was a few others that weren't as good, but they were worth mentioning. I just don't remember what they were. I had originally like a top 10 of 2017, but I was like, it's way too far in the year to talk about that. So I thought I would just do like a vlog to talk about 2017. Possible movies that could be good that I have not seen yet. The Post with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. I do want to check that out because I do really like both those, that actor and actress. Has potential, don't know how it's going to do. Lady Bird, I've heard, is an excellent film. Watched the trailer for it and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do with this. So I haven't watched it yet. My girlfriend does really want to watch it though, so we probably will be watching it at some point relatively soon. I'm trying to think of what else. There wasn't enough of Jake Gyllenhaal last year. That could be why last year wasn't the greatest. I'm trying to think of what else. That's all that's coming to mind. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. What else did I buy for 2017? I got John Wick 2 recently. Same with Logan. I did get Amazing Spider-Man, even though I didn't necessarily love it. I still give it like a 6 out of 10. And it was worth for me to say, okay, I'm going to check it out again, because there were still a lot of parts that I did like about it. It's just it wasn't as good. And there was another movie, Alien Covenant. Is that the only thing? An Alien Covenant I bought because I hadn't watched it yet. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. Wasn't horrible. It was just kind of there. That's all that I can think of really for 2017 that's worth mentioning. I wish I could remember though the few movies that I gave. Wind River, that was really good. Top 5 probably. It was surprisingly good. Maybe not surprisingly good, but it was pretty good. Those are the top ones that I can think of. So probably Three Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri was my favorite. Then John Wick 2. Then probably Logan. Then Wind River and It. Those would be my top 5, just off the top of my head. There might be a few others that I'm missing here. But they would be close to those movies. So that's all that I had to talk about in this video. So it's just kind of like an update on things I'm hoping to do. I'm coming back, hopefully, with some movie reviews. I'm going to be doing hopefully a Blu-ray collection update because I know that that's generally what everybody wants. I did recently get a 4K TV, a 65-inch Samsung 4K TV, along with an Xbox One X, so I can now finally watch 4K movies. I have not owned or played a 4K movie yet. I played video games in 4K, but I have not watched a movie yet, so I'm really excited to see that. And I think that one of the best would be something like Mad Max in 4K. I think that would just be insanely clear and beautiful. But I don't own any yet, and it's like I'm still stuck on the Blu-rays, and it's gonna be so hard I have like 400 Blu-rays or something like that, so we'll see how that goes. So anyway, that's the update. I just want to say that I am still here, and I'm hoping to get back into reviewing movies on here and just talking about movies or Blu-rays or 4K movies, what have you. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for sticking in and kind of watching my channel still. Hopefully I'm back for at least a few videos a month. You've been bearded in. Beardage.